Why is it that Star Wars is a lot more interesting when there's very little or no lightsaber and Jedi involved? Take the original Star Wars, for example. It was such an interesting movie with very little Jedi involvement. Kenobi used it only to shoo away the Jawas, cut off an arm, shoo away some stormtroopers, and then we have a couple of old dudes awkwardly swinging a glow stick, and finally they used it as an excuse to the Deus Ex Machina at the end. And it was when we focused Star Wars on lightsabers and the Force that we get
Rey Skywalker.
Know what I mean? A lot of people tend to be more interested in the lightsaber and using the Force to do things some consider to be unnatural. But as Yoda said,
luminous beings are we, not this crude matter.
The Force is not a power you have. It's not about lifting rocks. It's the energy between all things, a tension, a balance.
Life creates it, makes it grow.
It surrounds us and penetrates us. It binds the galaxy together.
And then Yoda proved the Force exists by lifting the X-Wing and making Luke lift rock. Well, technically boxes, but you get the point. Which resulted in a lot of confusion among the viewers that make people think that the Force is about lifting rocks.
It's not about lifting rocks.
No wonder the Jedi Order collapsed under Yoda's leadership. He's a terrible teacher.
Failure, most of all. The greatest teacher, failure is.
Proving once again that Rian Johnson was right. It's amazing how much Star Wars fans have very little understanding about the Force compared to what Rian Johnson knew. Why do you call yourself fans? It's embarrassing.
We are what they grow beyond. That is the true burden of all masters.
The Jedi isn't about moving things with your mind, nor was it about flashy lightsabers. At least, even though these are the things that people think make Star Wars great, those are not what makes Star Wars great. I suppose focusing on these can make a great story, but not when the story is subservient to fan service as what happened in The Rise of
Rey Skywalker.
When you try to satisfy everyone, you satisfied no one. But here's the thing. Fans love it when Star Wars resorts to fan service, which is why Star Wars itself is interested in rehashing itself over and over and over again. When Darth Vader showed up at the end of Rogue One, it served no relevance to the story, except maybe when you squint a lot, you can go for a very long stretch to make it seem like it hammered in the sacrifice that the rebellion has to endure at the hands of the Empire. But at that point, you're only trying to grasp at the straws. By the way, did you notice that the data was copied onto that console instead of the ship's command center, and that door jammed only because Vader needed to kill these people? While it is a microcosmos of the futility of the sacrifice, it's a conceit that didn't need to be there. I've already seen that sentiment during the entire movie. We don't need these scenes at all. But it worked. People loved it. People love this scene because how badass Vader is in it. But it has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It's just fan service, and ironically, that's what a lot of Star Wars fans want. It's the very thing that makes Star Wars seem creatively bankrupt. And as we'll see, when Lucasfilm stopped trying to circle jerk the fans like this, we get a well-written, highly creative show like Andor. Either way, Vader must have been so tired that the next day, he was just swinging his lightstick when fighting Kenobi. And the fans really did try to quote-unquote fix this by making a fan film that made the fight look badass. And it worked. People love it. But there's no creative writing in this. You're just rehashing what you've seen before. Because the Darth Vader hallway scene was such a success in Rogue One, that's why we have another one with Luke in the hallway destroying the Dark Trooper like Swiss cheese. Even at the expense of the main character, who had to endure extreme difficulty just to kill one, only to have Luke Skywalker show up. This guy, whom none of the characters had ever met or seen before, did not even introduce his name, yet Din Djarin chose to trust him with the baby that he spent 2 seasons trying to save from kidnapping. Just hand it over, completely undermining the character's significance and motivation, only to be reverted in the Book of Boba Fett, by way of another Luke Skywalker fan service. Luke didn't need to be in this series at all. He's got no relevance to the story, but we need to get Grogu back for Mandalorian Season 3. And we needed to do it via fan service that people love so people don't complain about it. Anyway, The Mandalorian was fun and a great show, but didn't do anything interesting story-wise until that one episode when he needs to take off his helmet. And this is a major external factor that makes Andor such a special case in Star Wars. On top of around 190 parts in the first season alone, Andor was a massive undertaking. Showrunner Tony Gilroy was first involved in Star Wars during the production of Rogue One, a Star Wars story. When the Gareth Edwards-directed film was facing issues during production, the producers brought in Tony Gilroy at a cost of $200,000 a week. He stayed on, not only for the rewrites, but also directed reshoots along with Gareth Edwards. And it was during these reshoots that we know the scene with Darth Vader at the end was tacked on. It's one of those scenes that seemingly came out of nowhere and had nothing to do with the story at hand. But it served one simple function, in that it put a cherry on top that he or anybody with a single brain cell knew the fans of the show would want to see. Darth Vader in the hallway, killing people. It is a scene that is clearly a callback to the Star Wars, where Imperial forces breach the Tantive and shoots everybody dead, instead of having this badass show up and kill everyone else. The Vader hallway scene would have fit more comfortably at the beginning of A New Hope. Powered by both nostalgia and fan service, it quickly became a beloved scene. And it worked. The addition of this scene right here placed Rogue One over the top as one of the most beloved fan favorite in the Star Wars series. You all got tricked into liking the things you like. Reportedly, he was ultimately paid north of $5 million for his work on Rogue One. Do the math and you'll find out that that meant he stayed on for about 25 weeks or half a year's worth of reshoot. But in his latest interview, Tony Gilroy stated that he ended up spending 10 months fixing Rogue One.
Help.
It's notable that of all the Disney Star Wars movie produced so far, The Last Jedi was the only one that had no such production issues at all. It remains one of the best Star Wars movies of all time. It's way up there, at least on par with Empire Strikes Back.
Wow.
At one point, Tony Gilroy had a conversation with Kathleen Kennedy discussing the possibilities of Star Wars and discovered that he can basically do anything. They could even do a hospital show in Star Wars. All those plumbers and farmers and the anesthesiologists, they all have lives. Immediately after finishing Rogue One, Lucasfilm was embroiled in another production issue with Solo, a Star Wars story. And that interrupted things a little bit, but once they're done, Lucasfilm wanted to do a show about Cassian Andor. They commissioned a pilot and sent it to Tony Gilroy for consultation. Tony said that he still had the memo from 4 years ago where it says it's just Cassian and K2SO storming the Citadel. And because there's no way you can do that for 20 episodes, he wrote a whole manifesto on what the show should be. But that was rejected by Kathleen Kennedy. So Lucasfilm tried another approach, and that fell apart again. So they went back to Tony Gilroy. And that manifesto became the show that we're watching today. For Andor, it is said that no Jedi will be appearing on the show's 2-season run. And that's not highly far-fetched. After all, the galaxy was never overrun by Jedi. In the 19 years after Order 66, it was known that the faith to the Force and the Jedi has become somewhat of a myth.
Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Tony Gilroy went even further and declared that, if you think about it, most of the beings in the galaxy are not aware of the Jedi and have never seen a lightsaber. He then compared Andor with the legendary series The Winds of War, an old book and TV series on the early days of World War II. Even here, the title hints to how they're going to tell the story of Cassian Andor. This series is secretly an origin story for the rebellion against the Empire, and the arrival of Andor was quite timely. According to Diego Luna, Andor is stressing that change and revolution happened when regular people decided to do something. It's just regular people trying to survive the darkest time in this galaxy and finding out that they can't take it anymore. It's about a system that is choking society. And given the world is heading to its third phase of the World War, I suppose it's quite timely that Andor come out at this period in history. And apparently Tony Gilroy is the perfect man for the job. He was never a Star Wars fan, proclaiming that he had no interest in it whatsoever. And given the recurring issue with Star Wars creators producing Star Wars content that amounts to a fan service, such as the Solo, Rise of
Rey Skywalker,
and the Kenobi series, which tried to appease everybody, resulting in disappointments in all. Though The Last Jedi seems to be an exception to the rule, with Rian Johnson very much knowledgeable in the lore, producing a story that was very deeply devoted to existing Star Wars lore, and at the same time breaking new grounds and delivering high-quality cinema that we haven't seen perhaps since the beginning. Tony described the aforementioned issues with the filmmakers that kept coming up with Star Wars films that amounts to fan service creation to the material at hand. Quote, "It's really easy with Star Wars for really smart people to lose their way, and strangely, it seems they care too much. Some form of odd altitude sickness or vertigo happens, and they lose some natural abilities or perceptions in some way." End quote. The original concept for Andor was for a 5-season show, each season being 12 episodes long, each season covering a year in the story, beginning 5 years before the Battle of Yavin. And the crazy part is, both Gilroy and Luna signed up for it. When committed, this means it would be a 15 years production for both of them. And given that Gilroy is 66 years old, he would have been making Andor until he's 77 years old. That's pretty much the rest of his professional career. And they've only realized this halfway through the production of the first season. And so, a compromise is made that the first season would cover an entire year, and the 12 episodes divided into 3-episode blocks. But for the second season, each 3-episode block would represent 1 year, so that by the end of the season, they would have arrived to the times of Rogue One. Don't forget to subscribe for more pop culture positivity, and thank you for watching.